guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess. Sometimes we buy these luxury bags and we say it's a good investment, but was it really just an impulse buy? Well, I want to talk about this topic today and let me know, guys, do you think that bags are a good investment? Whether it's an investment financially, into your happiness, into your style. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic as well. Okay, let's get right into it. So, I think sometimes people justify buying a luxury bag with the cost per wear argument. And I think sometimes this can vary. Like if you buy a Coach bag that costs, let's just say like a vintage Coach bag that costs $100, I think this, you could definitely get your cost per wear out of, because even if you wore it for 100 days straight, you would only have to pay $1 per day to wear this bag, and I think that's pretty good. Coach, it tends to be really good quality. It does last, it does wear well, so it's something you could wear for many years. This vintage Coach bag is actually, I think, from 1999 or 1997, I can't remember, but it's really lasted a really long time, and I would say this could be a really good investment into your wardrobe. It's a very classic design. It's $100, so after 100 days, you're basically wearing it for free, right? And yeah, it's a good, solid bag to get. But then other people will say something like a Birkin is a good investment. If you're thinking about cost per wear, a Birkin, you know, from the boutique could cost around $20,000. And if I wanted to get this down to $1 a day of wearing, I would have to wear this for 50 years straight every day for me to get my cost per wear out of it. So 50 years straight, $1 a day, I could, you know, probably justify the $20,000 purchase. But I think the cost per wear on bags that are literally like over a few $1,000s, it's really, I think at that point, you're paying for more than cost per wear. You're paying for the brand, and if you are somebody who also plans to sell your bags, and that could also be then more of an investment. For example, if I were to buy a Birkin from the store, like a Birkin 25 or something, and I know at the moment it's around $19,000. If I were to buy that from the store and then sell it the next day, yes, I could make like $9,000 to $10,000 on the secondhand market if I were to sell it privately. But then you also have to consider who you're going to sell it with. If I'm going to sell it through a consignment store, they may take 10 to 20%, which would eat into my profit. But still, it would be a good investment because I would have made money. But if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily sell their bags or want to sell their bags, then the whole investment in terms of your bags, like money-wise, it doesn't really add up. That being said, you know, I could wear this Birkin, let's just say for 3 years straight. Let's just say I paid like $15,000 for this. And then in a few years, maybe I can sell it for $16,000. And then I would have practically worn it for free and then also gained $1,000. I think that's what people mean when it's an investment. If you do plan to sell it, you can basically wear the bag for free for years. That being said, you need to look after the bag, and any wear and tear will also devalue the bag. And not to mention that these bags, anything can happen to them. It's not like putting money in a bank account. You can get them stolen. You can get them eaten by a dog. You can, you know, things can happen to them. So they're not necessarily the best thing to put your money into unless you are a professional reseller or somebody who has maybe an easy way to sell them. Selling a Birkin can actually take quite a long time because there's not a lot of people who can actually afford to buy one, to be honest. I find that with the cheaper bags, like things like Coach bags, things like cheaper Louis Vuitton bags, they're actually easier to sell because the price point is much more accessible. Whereas selling a Birkin or Kelly, you have to be quite patient because you have to wait for the right buyer to come along. And then, yeah, it could be a good investment if you want to sell it in the future, but not always. Sometimes as well, if you want to buy a Birkin or Kelly on the secondhand market, you might pay, let's just say $40,000 for a mini Kelly. Now, I wouldn't say that would be a good investment because I don't know if you could sell it again for $40,000. Maybe you could sell it for a little less. So Birkins and Kellys are not always investment bags. It depends if you're going to sell it, how you're going to also maintain the bag, and how much you actually bought the bag for, because you know you can also sometimes overpay for these things, particularly on the secondhand market. And bags like, you know, a Bolide bag, for example, that is currently over $10,000 in the store. Although it's an Hermes bag, and although it is very classic in design, I don't know if $10,000 for a bag is ever going to be a good investment, unless you like money wise, because even a mini Bolide you couldn't resell for more than retail. Sometimes you can, but yes, you have to take into account the commission that consignment stores take and all that. So yeah, investment wise, you really have to think about it, unless you're going to be a professional reseller, or unless you want to, you know, even side hustle. The good price to pay for a bag is something that you have to take into account. Like, for example, this trim bag here, let's just say I could sell it for $2,000, right? If I were to buy this bag to resell, I would probably buy it for $1,000, and then I would list it for $2,000, so I could make $1,000. But then also, if I couldn't sell it for $2,000, maybe I could also sell it for $1,500 and make $500 profit. You kind of, to make things a investment or something you want to flip, you kind of have to pay half the value of what you want to sell it for to have a bit of money to play around with. And that is what I guess, you know, online retailers do, like, you know, Fashion File or all that. Like, they tend to buy out things at a lower price that they know they've got a bit of leeway to sell it for. So if you did want to have a side hustle reselling bags, you know, you have to understand what bags sell for, what is a comfortable range, and you have to buy bags at pretty good deals to be able to flip them. I mean, I actually did it in the past, not on purpose. I didn't purposely resell things. I kind of was just obsessed with Chanel bags and Louis Vuitton, and I knew the right price to buy these things. Like, for example, I bought like a Duma backpack for around $2,000, and I knew I could sell that for at least $3,000, and I did. So that was an easy $1,000. But potentially I could have even sold it for $2,500 and made $500 profit. And I'd seen a similar bag sell for even $5,000. So it's just about knowing how much people are willing to pay for these bags, and then gauging the market, which can change over time. It can depend on trends. It can depend on all that. So are bags an investment money wise? They can be, if you understand how much you should pay for a bag, and if you intend to sell it. If you don't intend to sell your bags, then no, of course they're not a good money investment. However, I think there's also a different kind of investment you could make into a bag, and that is how much joy you get out of the bag, how much sentimental value you feel from the bag, because I think that's something you can't really put a price on. I get a lot of joy out of knowing I own all these Hermes bags, and although they're probably not good investments, to be honest, because unless I sell them, they're not a good money investment at all. In fact, they are like a liability. But because I really enjoy having them, and I feel excited to talk about them, and maybe some of them as well I've bought on different holidays. Like this one I bought in Japan, so it has a little bit of like a sentiment to it. You know, something like this green Birkin got from the store, and it felt very special, so I feel quite like, you know, sad to ever sell it kind of thing. Like, I feel like, oh no, that's like my special Birkin. Like, I think sometimes we attach sentiment to these objects as well, and that can be something that you can't really put a price on. So even if, yeah, you bought something on a holiday, or you bought something to celebrate a milestone, you know, using that bag and seeing that bag brings back that memory. And yes, when you put sentiment to objects, sometimes they can be a little bit priceless. And I think also, you know, brands kind of use this idea as well. Like, for example, with the Murakami collection, a lot of people felt sentimental about that because it was kind of, you know, like the 20-year anniversary, and it kind of brought back memories of collecting it when you were younger, or wanting to collect it when you were younger. There's all sorts of emotions that are tied into these objects as well, which you could say are kind of priceless. So that could be a good investment into your happiness, I guess. And, you know, I think there are some people who also don't understand that side of investing into a luxury bag. They see it as a waste of money, maybe because they see no sentimental value in these objects. But a lot of people see sentiment in these things and get a lot of joy out of them as well, which can sometimes, yeah, as I said, be priceless. But that being said, I think sometimes we can be quite emotional and even bored and buy things out of impulse and then regret it, right? So I've done that numerous times with different releases, seeing something on the secondhand market that I thought was a good deal and then maybe it wasn't, or like whatever. And I think sometimes we can buy things out of impulse as well. And sometimes that kind of thrill of getting something can fade really fast. So then I would say in that sense, it wouldn't be a good investment into your happiness, because you might have just wanted to feel a bit of happiness for a short amount of time. But a lot of the time buying these bags don't always bring long-term happiness. There are a few that you might find every time you look at it, it always makes you happy because it is linked to some other deeper emotional memory, or it really means something to you. But a lot of the time, and I'm speaking for myself here, I will buy bags based on maybe I was bored, maybe I just wanted a little bit of a pick-me-up, and that can be a little bit more of an impulsive reason why you may have bought the bag, and maybe wasn't worth the investment, right, for the long-term happiness feeling. So guys, do you think that handbags are a good investment or just an impulse buy? Because I think it can really depend on the bag, to be honest. I think, yes, if you are somebody who plans to sell your bags, there are definitely bags out there that you can make money from. And I have myself in the past, but that, you have to always remember that things are only worth what people are willing to pay, and you have to understand as well the market and what things are worth, I guess, to people. And you also have to have the confidence to be able to sell these things at a rate that is efficient, I guess. You don't want to wait 3 years to sell something. And I think also there are many times where we buy these things out of impulse or boredom, or because we got caught up in a moment. And sometimes maybe that wouldn't be a great decision, right? So I would always say when buying bags, sometimes it can be a bit impulsive and it can end up being one of the best bags you ever get. But a lot of the time it's good to step away thinking about it for a few weeks or so, because these bags are not cheap. And the truth is, a lot of these bags do not hold value at all, particularly, new Chanel bags that cost $18,000. Unfortunately, if you do regret something like that, you're going to lose maybe $8,000 from selling it, like something crazy like that. And I guess, bags like Birkins and Kellys, if you buy them from the store and you regret buying them, you could probably make money from them. So in that sense, it's not as bad of a buy. But I will still say, always shop with caution. Don't always think about the resale value unless you have a business or unless you plan to sell your bag. So guys, what do you think about this topic? Let me know. And thanks for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye!